पानी रखा हुआ है। ये ठीक है क्या? अच्छा लगे से सुबह? नहीं। कर दिया लाइफ क्या? अरे बताओ तो स्टार्ट कर दिया क्या? ये एडिट हो जाएगा क्या? लाइव Hello guys. So all the very best for upcoming exams, right? And so we are going to have analysis of paper 1, and on Indian society I would be sharing my insights. So let's get started. All the questions according to me is highly easy. You will see the first question. It talks about unity and diversity. I hope I'm audible. Just a moment, guys. I'll have to just check if I'm audible or not. Is I'm audible here? Everything is fine? Okay. So let's see this question. It's very important for all of us to understand the demand of the question. Okay, so how to understand the demand of the question? It is here, comment. So first of all, you need to understand the demand of the question. So here, what you will see? Comment. Now, comment is a broader framework. It's a broader framework where you will see what you need to do. Now, if you know comment, what this directive says, it is like there is one statement given to you. Now, do you agree or disagree? And if yes, why? Okay? You need to understand the perspectives of answer writing. So it is not that all of a sudden we learn about answer writing. It's a gradual process, and one of the significant steps. One of the significant steps which I personally tell, you should be knowing about directives. Now, comment means if you will see comment, so the expectation is that you need to examine, not examine, but you need to see the statement and what is your opinion on that. And then you need to give balanced reason answer on it. Okay? So the question here is unity in diversity. Okay? So this is the key term, definitely. You need to write down the key term. So comment is a broader framework and they are asking your opinion, and the key term here is unity in diversity. Okay? So unity in diversity. Now what next they are saying? Remains feature of Indian society. Features of Indian society despite some challenges. Okay? And the challenges is communalism and regionalism. Okay? Now, the key terms should reflect in your answer. Okay? So, I would really want all of my viewers to understand, you need to basically examine the statement. Okay? And you need to come into balanced judgment. Here, you do not have to be highly critical, but yes, you can use little tone of being critical. Okay? So, the answer needs 3 movements. Okay? I hope you will have understood the question. If you people want, I can explain it again to all of you so that anyone can see my lectures in future and can understand how we need to deal with answer writing. Okay, so the question here, the directive is commit, broader framework. Okay, so you need to examine these statements and then you need to come into balanced judgment. Okay, now what is this? Unity in diversity is still a defining feature of Indian society despite challenges of regionalism and communalism. So the tone of your answer is also important. Okay, I always tell my students that one should know the lexical writing skills. In this, you need to write coherent answer. You need to write tone of the answer matching the demand of the question. Okay. Now, you should be knowing here that there are three movements. I mean, I'm just telling you on the movements part. Okay. So you will see, first of all, understanding this. The next part is definitely should be on three movements. Okay, so what can be three movements here? Unity, challenges. Okay, unity, challenges. Why unity continues basically? Why unity continues? Okay, you can just simply write down this. Now, you should be knowing that how diversity in India is operable in Indian society. So you do have multiple levels to define that. You know, if you have to define unity and diversity, so definitely on the basis of religion, you can say that. On the basis of linguistic, ethnic, cultural, regional, you can tell that. Social, you can tell that. So first of all, you should be knowing about the diversity, how we are, unity and diversity. So definitely we are multicultural society. We do have various religious groups, we do have linguistic groups, ethnic groups, cultural groups, because India is a mosaic of definitely lot many cultures. Okay, but what is unity mean? Like, how we can define unity? So I would say it's a shared belief. You know, that culture what we have, the culture which we have got from IBC, it's like the precursor. So IBC is definitely at the takeoff stage, and Vedic period is definitely the period by which we have got Indian traditions. You can quote here Yogendra Singh, you can quote here Yogendra Singh, you can quote here Gore, you can quote here D.P. Mukherjee, you can quote here lot many Indian sociologists, right? So you need to know that when you are writing your answers, if you can get good references, it plays a significant role. Right? So you do have Rumila Thapar, historian. She has also spoke about India's culture, diversity, and M.N. Srinivas. These are some famous Indian sociologists, and definitely you can refer some new thinkers on India's tradition. People of India, it's again very important work. Okay, so you do have Professor Vivek Kumar, Anand Kumar. These are leading sociologists who are talking on India's culture. Okay, so you people can always refer to this point, but definitely you need to understand that how and why you are giving reference. It should not be because the sake of giving reference, you are giving reference. Okay, so unity here means because we are sharing, we are sharing cultural beliefs, political, constitutional, and civilizational framework. Okay, and because of this, multiple identities can coexist. Okay, so this is one thing you need to tell, that how unity is continuing. So first of all, you need to show how we are having multiple diversities. Okay, So that I have explained religion, linguistic, ethnic, culture, etc., etc. Now all these diversities can coexist. Okay? Coexist. How it is coexisting? Because of shared civilizational culture, polity, constitution, and so on. Okay? So this is what you can further explain. Okay? So you can see that unity does not mean uniformity. This is something very important. Okay? Unity means that people are living together. Okay? We are adapting, adjusting the differences. Okay, some aspirants think that unity means uniformity. No, this is something you need to understand. Okay, unity does not mean uniformity, so you will be different, you will have different understanding on it. Okay, now you need to tell why it is still a defining feature. So here you can just change the tone of your answer by explaining this. That despite diversity, despite unity, in today's society, in contemporary scenario, it is the starting features that India has maintained its unity and it is not fading yet. Okay, so you just have to emphasize and you need to bring some tone on it. Okay, despite challenges like regionalism or communalism, India is having diversities. India is definitely having unity in it. So you need to just talk about that. So definitely here you will talk about constitutional integration. Okay, you just talk about that. How do we have fundamental rights? Like how you do have universal identifies. All those which you must have read in your quality paper. So secularism, federalism, rule of law, independent judiciary, constitutional remedies, basic structure of the constitution can't be changed. So you would see that this constitutions, this power, the rule, that converts diversity from a potential source, I would say, of fragmentation into a basis for democratic accommodation. So because of definitely constitutions, because of coexistence, which I have already explained, this shared point, you can bring about constitutional point first, because in modern day society, it is the constitution which is the source of law. Any society can maintain due to different rules and regulation, and now in a democratic society today's, we do have system which is definitely helping us not to have such problems. Okay, then you can talk about federalism as a mechanism of accommodation and all. Okay, so then you can talk about linguistic reorganization, strengthen about how we can have one unity rather than disintegration. Okay, so then you can also talk about democracy and all. Okay, so this is something I would say you need to talk about. Then you can also write about communalism and regionalism. So what is communalism? Definitely communalism is coming out of ethnocentric views. It is like coming from us, and then you need to understand inter-community relation, secular citizenships and all that. So we do have these points. So political, you can say yes that we are facing the challenges such as political mobilization, competition, social exclusion, okay, stereotyping. So these are the reasons why do we have communalism, regionalism, and then we can talk about its solutions. Okay, so this is what you can say, and definitely regionalism. It's definitely a manifestation. Some of the spoils politics, interstate disputes. So these disputes are going to be there. We do have the resource conflicts. We do have the regional economic inequalities. But despite of all these challenges, we still maintaining coexistence. That is what people have to basically write. Okay? And I have told you, you can write down different thinkers. I would say Rajni Pudhari is also can be a good example. Okay, so Rajni Pudhari has given a lot of examples. Ravinder Singh has given a lot of examples. So you just have to quote some work by defining this part. Okay, I hope people do not have any doubts into it. If you do have doubts, so let me know about this. So you just have to structure your answer. So I would say what you can do, you can just explain about the about the topic in around 20 to 25 words, which is explain about that how still we are maintaining diversity. Okay, like maintaining unity in diversity. That is something you have to tell. And what is your opinion on it? So you can say that yet yes, even in today's scenario, where we have a lot of fragmentations, a lot of false, I would say, influences, where it is very it is so very important and worth appreciating that still India is having its unity and diversity. So you can just explain 20 to 25 words, then you explain the dimensions, okay, like why and how it is possible. Then you can talk about that how this diversity, this unity and diversity is being challenged, and what we can do for accommodation, and I mean, you need to show that because of our adaptive policy, because of our accommodation, despite, because the tone is this, we have maintained the, unity and diversity. This is what you can just talk about, okay? So this is how you can write your answer on this. So if you want, I mean, further explanation, so I can just give you a diagram explanation. You can just write on Indian society, diversity and unity, okay? So why are we having diversity? So you can talk about the diversity which I've explained in the earlier point. And then because of this, even because of the diversity, it is giving us unity, all right? And then why? Because of accommodation. How we are accommodating? Constitutions, definitely federalism, definitely democracy. Because of these three major factors, we are accommodating, right? And then you can talk about national integrations, okay? And then when you are talking about the national integration, definitely you will see that communalism will happen, regionalism will happen, but still, because of our constitutional framework, because of our civilization coexistence, we can maintain this. So you can just simply say Indian unity is best understood as an ongoing process of this movement, democratic accommodation, in which diverse identities can coexist. Okay. Now we have next question. Please read the question. So it is about how do you understand disability. Fine. So please understand this. You need to again understand the demand of the question. Okay. So here, substantiate. The directive here is substantiate. It means that you need to give lot of evidences. You need to prove the statement is correct. Okay, that is what you have to see. So how do you think? How do you understand disability? Substantiate the need for inclusive policy. Okay, so there are two clear demands, definitely. How do you understand disability? So this is the first question, okay? So why do we have this disability? So you need to just give an explanation on disability, and you do not just have to merely define it. Some students are just defining disability, it will be wrong, okay? And then you need to substantiate, this is the second part, why existing social, economic, institutional structures must become inclusive, preferably with Indian examples, okay? So I hope you have understood the demand of the question. There are two parts, okay? So I would say you need to just give the concept clarification, then you need to have shift understanding, then you need to talk about the problem, that is exclusion and need for inclusive policy, and then definitely you need to give Indian framework, okay? So most important conceptual work. So traditional understanding which we have with respect to disabilities, medical one, okay? So disability was primarily earlier understood as individuals' medical impairment, okay? Like illness, blind, impairment, treatment, and so on, right? But now we will see there are lot many problems, if they are located within the individual. Now, you understand here, we also have social model of disability. Okay, so you can just simply tell about this. You do have multiple meanings of disability. So traditional meaning talks about medical, we do have some medical problems. So that is what you can say. And you can just then explain the social model. So disability is produced not merely by the individual's impairment, by social and economical barriers. And here you can also quote Amartya Sen, okay, democracy and freedom. So a person, for example, so this is what you will see, and substantiate the need for inclusive policy framework in India in this regard, okay. So a person with mobility impairment may face greater disability, because you can just write down about building like ramps, building transport is inaccessible, workplaces are not adapted, digital platforms are poorly designed, social attitudes are discriminatory. So impairment may be individual, but disability is significantly shaped by society. So just imagine that if I am going somewhere and if the infrastructure of that building, the architect of that building, if it is not supporting, children or the individuals with this special challenges, so it means that the problem is not individual, problem is structural. Okay, so disability you will say as a question of social exclusion. Okay, so this is a sociological perspective, this is a critical perspective that one can write in your answer. Okay, so you will just simply tell about disability can be understood through social exclusion. Okay, person with disabilities may experience exclusion from education, definitely employment, political participation. So what we are doing for this? Okay, so definitely you will see that government has a lot of policies, and we do have to develop more policies in that area. So political participation, public spaces, and so on. Okay, so then another problem you can also talk about disability with respect to Erwin Goffman's concept. Erwin Goffman concept of stigmas. Okay, so also you will see the problem is when we are attaching negative meanings. Okay, so dependency, incapacity, inability to work. This is what you will see here. Okay, so sometimes society disables people more than their impairment itself. So basically it is a societal perspective question, so that you need to add from them. Okay, so earlier approach was like charity, welfare, rehabilitation. Now we do have to revise it. So rights, equality, participation, empowerment, these are the approaches which we have to bring. Okay, and then you do have a lot of articles into this. I think Article 14, equality before law. Article 15, protection against discrimination. Article 16, equal opportunities for employment. Article 21, rights of life and dignity. Article 41. So all these points you can write down. Now, why does India need an inclusive policy framework? Equality of opportunity, definitely we need equality, we need education, employment, accessibility, okay, gender dimensions. So this is, you will talk, and your answer should talk about paradigm shift. There's a conceptual shift. Okay, so person has disability earlier, society provides assistance. Now society contains barriers, society removes barriers. Okay, this is what inclusive policy. Just a moment. So what you can do? Accessibility, first of all. Okay, you can talk about accessible infrastructure, transport, and digital services. So that is something you will talk about accessibility. Then talk about accommodation. Now when you're talking about accommodation, reasonable adjustments according to individual needs, affirmative actions, awareness, agencies, and we need to provide such points. So nothing about us without us. Okay, so critical dimension you need to see. So India has definitely moved significantly towards right-based framework. So this is something you can write. Okay, again. So in introduction, always show the transition shift, and then just explain the social exclusion, stigmas, and barriers, and then why inclusive policy is needed. Simple, 3 parts here. I hope you have got the clarity on this. Now you will see the next question. Here, this is a opinion-based question. If you see, it's simply a opinion-based question. You can see here, all of you, on the digital part. Do you think digital technology promotes social empowerment? Explain with examples. Okay, so what is your opinion on this? Yes or no? Whatever your opinion, it should definitely reflect in your answer, because they are simply asking you this point. Do you think? Okay, so the question is has two demands. What do you think? First part. Okay, what do you think? So it's required reasoned position. So the first part has to be reasoned position. What is your opinion? Because this is what they are asking. Okay, and then I am telling reasoned opinion. Okay, so not a simple yes or no. You need to tell why. Okay, so examples, and then you need to definitely see examples. Okay, explain with examples. Dimension should be examples. What you have to say. So the core argument here is digital technology, okay, can promote social empowerment by expanding access to information. Okay, वो information सबके पास जानी चाहिए, opportunities, voice and participation. However, its empowering potential depends. अब ऐसे नहीं है कि ये हमारे पास ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर आ गया, हमारे पास ये डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी आ गया और ये अब सबके एसेसिबल हो जाएगी, नहीं, क्योंकि हमारी खुद के इंटरनल काफी चैलेंजेस हैं, पॉलिटिकल, सोशल, इकोनॉमिकल. मैंने जैसे बोला है कि स्ट्रैटिफाइड कर दो, जो भी सारे क्वेश्चंस आते हैं उसमें आपको स्ट्रैटिफिकेशन करके सेक्शंस वाइज चीजें देखो. देन अगर कोई डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे पास आते हैं तो जो लोएस्ट हमारे रडार पे है, जो लोएस्ट लेडर पे लोग हैं, उनको वो टेक्नोलॉजी कितनी मिल सकती है. ठीक है, सो दैट इज समथिंग यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड. The empowering potential depends upon digital access, okay, literacy and the ability to use technology. Okay, so what is social empowerment? You need to clarify the concept. Okay, so social empowerment meaning capacity to make choices, okay, access to resources, participation in decision making, ability to claim rights, okay, social voice, visibility and control over their lives. So empowerment is not simply having a smartphone. Okay, empowerment is not simply that you are active on social media and giving your comments and giving your baseless opinion. That is not. Okay, so it is like assess, capacity, participation, agencies. Okay, now then the question is asking explain with examples. Okay, so here you need to again redefine your answers into this. So earlier information was controlled by relatively limited institutions. Okay, so resources was not available to everyone. Digital technology has definitely expanded it. Okay, so you can see that how now we are giving access to it. So educational material is there, government scheme we can understand, legal information we do have. Okay, employment opportunities we can see, news and public discourse we can see. So digital learning platform allows students, we can just talk about geographically remote areas and how it is very easy for students to get study nowadays. So this is a sociological significance, right? And then you have to write down technology can reduce informational asymmetry and enhance individual agencies. So that is something, but yes, definitely challenges we have. Political empowerment bhi aap dekhoge, digital platform have created new spaces where you can simply have political participation. You can see what had happened in recent protest. Okay, so citizens feedback can come, grievances can come, mobilization can come. Okay, so that is what you will see. Online campus and digital platforms are there where you can definitely come and participate if you are finding any problems. Okay, so that is what you will see. So digital participation does not automatically equal democratic empowerment. That is something also you can write. Okay, misinformation is also there, trolling is also there, and polarization can undermine it. Okay, so these are some things which can actually mislead. So economic empowerment, definitely e-commerce is there, digital payments we do have, platform-based work we are having, right? So online skill development we do have. So India's expansion on digital payments you can see, right? You can give the examples of UPI, okay? And it has enabled small business and individual to participate more easily. Okay, so this you can see, and then women's empowerment also you can see. So I would say this you people can write about. Okay, digital empowerment definitely has a paradox too. sociological significance you can talk about, and then you can talk about some thinkers, definitely, if you do have understanding. So you can talk about Manuel Castile, you can talk about Pierre Bourdieu, okay? You do have Pierre Bourdieu, you do have Manuel Castile, okay? So these people you can talk, okay? And digital financial inclusion, digital governance movements, yes, I would say this you can write. So first of all, in this answer, no, what should be reflected? आपके आंसर में क्या एक ना चेन दिखना चाहिए आपके आंसर में. Digital assets, okay? Then you talk about digital literacy, okay? Then you talk about access to information. Then you talk about capability, participation, agencies, and then also you can talk about social empowerment. But then you can, there's a break in the chain. Agar no access, right? Low digital literacy, poverty, and digital exclusion. So this is what you people can write. Critical dimension is very important. Mention digital divide here. Misinformation, surveillance, balanced judgment needs to be there. Okay. Now, this question is caste disappearing in urban India? So you can direct refer here. M. Srinivas, caste in 21st century. Okay. So you can say that. I mean, see, everything is in continuum. Caste is definitely faded in its originality, the way it used to work earlier, but it is in tradition. Okay, India's culture, India's traditions are living traditions. Okay, so you cannot just simply say that caste is disappearing. Okay, is caste disappearing in urban India? Then you can definitely illustrate. Now, the key term here is the illustrate. Okay, you need to illustrate, and there is a difference between illustrate and elucidate. Here you need to give example, like you need to explain this concept with examples. Okay, so I would say this is definitely easy, easiest one. All the questions are easy. I do not see case में कोई भी question tricky है. Okay, so is that what this question demands? It is like testing you whether you understand the relationship between urbanization, modernization, and caste. Okay, so urbanization, modernization, and caste. So does urbanization destroy caste, or does caste adapt itself to the urban environment? So you will see that adaptation definitely is there. So caste cannot disappear. It is a very strong feature of Indian institutions, of Indian traditions. Okay, it is traditional forms. Definitely, it's weakening. तो ट्रेडिशनल फॉर्म में आप इसको बोलोगे कि ये डेफिनेटली वीक हो गया है, while caste identities are being reproduced and transformed through new urban institutions. New urban institutions में आप इसको जरूर देखोगे. Okay, so why do you have to expect caste to decline? पहले तो आप ये बताओ. Because it was claimed that with secularization, with new modern features, we will going to destroy the older part. This was actually a belief set by Orientalists, Western philosophers. But ऐसा हुआ नहीं है. Okay, because as Yogendra Singh has said that we do have an adaptive culture. So we have adapted. We have not borrowed exactly anything which is given to us in the form of modernization or westernization. So this is what you will see. Definitely, you will show evidence of weakening of caste. A person from traditional agricultural or artisan caste may become doctor, engineer, IAS officer, entrepreneur, and so on. So caste-based occupation definitely in Indian culture is missing, or it is weakening. But weakening of definitely some ritual restrictions, right? Workplaces may and universities may. Okay, you will see restaurants में, residentials में. तो वहाँ पे भी आपको ये सारी चीजें देखने को नहीं मिलेगा. एजुकेशन में मेरिट बेस्ड हो चुका है. बट नाउ क्रूशियल पार्ट के क्यों नहीं डिसअपियर हुआ है? कास्ट इज सर्वाइविंग थ्रू मैरिज, राइट? फैमिली एक्सपेक्टेशंस. इन पॉलिटिक्स यू विल सी, ओके, प्रॉपर्टी कंसिडरेशन, मैट्रिमोनियल नेटवर्क्स, कल्चरल कंपैटिबिलिटी. सो हियर यू विल सी, सो फैमिली एक्सपेक्टेशंस, definitely it is there. Community networks, cultural compatibility, social status, and definitely on the caste. So caste in politics. So these are the points, caste and residential patterns. You can see we do have residential preferences, we do have associations on the basis of caste. You can always refer my work, Caste and Culture Among Pasmanda Muslims, and a case study of New Delhi. It is available. Okay, internet पे आप डालोगे डॉक्टर हुमा हसन कास्ट एंड कल्चर ऑफ पसमानदा मुस्लिम्स, तो मुस्लिम के रेफरेंसेस देख के भी आप कास्ट को एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हो, that how do we have these systems. Okay, so that is something you can write. So caste has entered modern politics. So network caste. So definitely we can say कि खत्म नहीं हुआ है, and there is experiences in urban India that you can talk about. Evan Shrinivasan, Androbetyl. Okay, you will talk about Androbetyl. Critical perspective is there, and you do have important distinctions that you can write about all this. Okay, contemporary examples are there. I hope this is clear. Then you do have this question, critically examine the challenges of demographic transition in contemporary India. Okay, so critically examine question, again it requires you to examine, and it is also asking you to take position. Okay, you do not have to write only the problems created by population growth. Okay, this is something you will have to see. So question is about demographic transition, the movement from high birth rate plus high death rate to low birth rate to low death rate. This is demographic transition. Okay, so definitely India is experiencing a complex and uneven demographic transition. तो इंडिया का तो ये डेफिनेटली एक मेजर चैलेंजेस हमेशा से रहा है, बिकॉज डिफरेंट स्टेटस, you will say different status we do have, different thoughts we have, different norms we have, so states and social groups at different stages, right? So you will see this. Okay, डेमोग्राफिक ट्रांजिशन तो हमारे लिए एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक हमेशा से रहा है. डिफरेंट स्टेट्स एंड सोशल ग्रुप्स are at different stages. Okay, so you will see what is the central argument here in this question which you can portray in your answer. So India's demographic transition is simultaneously creating a demographic dividend. Okay, so demographic dividend भी हमारा कहीं ना कहीं यहाँ से create हो रहा है. New challenges of aging, employment, regional imbalance आ रहा है. तो पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ की वजह से डेफिनेटली माइग्रेशन, सोशल सेक्टर प्रेशर्स, बहुत सारे इश्यूज आ रहे हैं. ठीक है, सो इस पे आपको हमेशा ही एक अच्छे नोट्स प्रिपेयर करने चाहिए थे. ठीक है, ये क्वेश्चन आया है, काफी इजी भी है. सो ट्रेडिशनली यू वुड से डेमोग्राफिक ट्रांजिशन occurs in stages. So stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, वो आप लोगों को पता होगा, वो आपने एक्सप्लेन कर दिया. ठीक है, तो स्टेज 4 में क्या होता है, लो फर्टिलिटी एंड लो मॉर्टिलिटी. अभी जो है इंडिया का जो अभी करंट सिनेरियो है, so India is moving towards low fertility and slower population growth, but the transition is steadily uneven. Population के ऊपर क्वेश्चन आना ही था, काफी इसके ऊपर न्यूज़पेपर्स पे, करंट अफेयर्स पे इस पे सारे क्वेश्चन थे. So India's demographic transition is not uniform. Okay, so this is an analytical point which you can always put in your answers. So different states show different demographic characteristics. Okay, so southern and some western states generally lower fertility. You can see here. So state wise आपका अलग चीजें दिख रहा है. Higher life expectancy, aging populations. Okay, and northern and central states relatively higher fertility, younger population, greater pressure on employment, and so on. So India faced multiple demographic regimes within one national demographic transition, and you can see the challenges here. So employment, demographic dividends, and so on. Okay, so India has a large, definitely India has a large working age population. This creates a potential demographic dividend, but a young population become an asset only when supported by education, skills, employment, and so on. तो बहुत सारे यंग हो, जॉब नहीं हो, तो फिर ये हमारे लिए एक बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम बन गया है. So large working age population, unemployment, frustration, social, you will see vulnerability. So demography creates an opportunity only if you do have work profile, if you do have opportunities to give them. Okay, then definitely challenge 2 is aging population, which you people have to write it down. Okay, regional demographic imbalance, why it is this, migration and urbanization you can write about. Then definitely here you can also talk about health transitions. Okay, gender dimensions also you can add, human capital you can add. So changing family structures. Okay, so is demographic transition, you know, the critically, because they want a critical perspective. So is demographic transition only a challenge? ओके क्रिटिकल, बिकॉज यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन है ना क्रिटिकली एग्जामिन, तो आपको ये पर्सपेक्टिव भी ऐड करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि आपके टोन में अगर ये पॉइंट नहीं आया देन देयर विल बी अ प्रॉब्लम. सो क्रिटिकल पर्सपेक्टिव आप कहीं डाल सकते हो. इस demographic transition only a challenge. Okay, so right now then you need to write down opportunities which can have. So larger working age population, reduced dependency ratio during the dividend phase, great female investment in children, higher saving potential, urban economic activity. तो आप ये सारे points भी इस पे लिख सकते हो. Okay, so this is something important here. So the demographic transition is not inherently a demographic crisis. It becomes a crisis when economic and social institutions fail to adapt to changing population structures. Okay, so this is what you can talk. See here. So the next question here is definitely impact of globalization on Indian youth with reference to social, political, economical, cultural spheres. Okay, so positive, definitely you can write down about the positive, but then definitely you do have the challenges as well. So this is something you can write in a way. I mean, I think that इस बार जो question papers आपके आए हैं काफी easy रहे हैं, तो आप इसको globalization you can see here. So first of all, how do you have to understand cultural homogenization के बारे में बात कर सकते हैं, homogenization and hybridization. Okay, तो जब अगर आप homogenization की बात कर रहे हैं तो आप बात कर सकते हैं similar lifestyle, consumer cultures. आप hybridization की बात कर सकते हैं global plus local, fusion identities and globalization. Okay, so इस पे आप definitely इस पे ये questions लिख सकते हैं. So globalization definitely creates both cultural homogenization and cultural hybridization. Okay, globalization and inequality also you can write about. So I think that all the questions are somewhat easy. ठीक है, यहाँ पे भी आप globalization को लेके तो हम हमेशा ही we do have lot of understanding on it. So फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, बट यहाँ पे आपको डेफिनेटली सिर्फ लेक्चर क्वेश्चन को भी देखना भी पड़ेगा. यहाँ पे जो क्वेश्चन है इसमें इवैल्यूएट, तो यहाँ पे यू नीड टू इवैल्यूएट द इम्पैक्ट कितना है, टू व्हाट डिग्री इट इज. सो एज आई हैव सेड इन द बिगिनिंग दैट द टोन ऑफ द आंसर आल्सो प्लेज अ सिग्निफिकेंट रोल. सो हियर इट इज आस्किंग यू then you need to just tell the list advantages and disadvantages. Okay, impact को आपको evaluate करना है. So what you have to talk about? So you can just talk about that globalization has created new opportunities and identities for Indian youth while simultaneously producing inequalities, cultural tensions and new forms of vulnerability. Okay, so this is something you will see. और globalization के ऊपर हमारे ही questions आ ही रहे हैं. Okay, so you need to bring balance and multi-dimensional structure in your answer. So 4 dimensions पे आप अपना answer लिख सकते हो: social, political, economic and cultural. Okay, पहले आपने ग्लोबलाइजेशन को एक्सप्लेन कर दिया, फिर आपने सोशल इम्पैक्ट बता दिया, फिर आप जेंडर अवेयरनेस बताओ, चेंजिंग फैमिली इंटरपर्सनल रिलेशंस बता दो, नेगेटिव बताओ. इसमें जब आप नेगेटिव पॉइंट्स बता रहे हैं देन यू नीड टू से हाउ इंडिविजुअलाइजेशन, वीकनिंग ऑफ ट्रेडिशनल सपोर्ट सिस्टम, young people may also experience social comparison, online pressure, misinformation, digital exclusion. These all are major challenges. So connectivity तो create करी है, लेकिन weakening of traditional forms of social integration. Political impact आप बता सकते हैं. Youth participation in climate campaigns and digital civic campaign demonstrate the emergence of network political participation. Okay, so this is how people can could have done better in this paper. Although I don't think so कि इसमें आपको मेजर कोई challenges आए होंगे.